Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Confederation of in Industry, I welcome our distinguished speakers and all participants. I sincerely hope each one of you is following the social distancing discipline and keeping safe and healthy. As we are all aware, COVID-19 is continuing to spread around the world and is having a significant impact on businesses. India is no exception, and with a long lockdown and resume of work in faces, the challenges for the individuals, governments, and industry are only multiplying. The current pandemic has once again highlighted the important role played by technologies. The pandemic has accentuated the promise of emerging technologies and use of advanced analytics tools to help address some of the critical issues and make it more efficient, effective, and accessible. The use of emerging technologies has shown tremendous promise across a broad array of applications. Keeping this in view, the webinar on empowering sustainability and the energy sector through artificial intelligence is being organized in partnership with Amplo Global. This webinar continues our conversation started in our last webinar on how AI is fueling Industry 4.0, delivered on October 8th. The current webinar will highlight on the applications of AI span across the majority of industries, its ability to analytically process and visually model future scenarios, advantages of controlled smart maintenance by image processing, amongst other few advantages highlights. And to deliver the same, we have Mr. Anirban Bhattacharyya and Mr. Sudhir Sondalkar from Amplo Global. Anirban, co-founder and board member of Amplo Global, has over 18 years of strategy, research and development and implementation experience in physical and digital operations, manufacturing, supply chain processes improvement, and process automation services. He's a founding member of Amplo Global Incorporation, an AI-led Industry 4.0 risk management product company that powers Amplify 4.0, a platform that enables organizations to measure, assess, and define 3 to 5 years of Industry 4.0 execution readiness. He earned his engineering degree from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, India, in electrical and electronics, and an MBA from the Fuqua School of Business at Duke University, where he specialized in strategy and marketing. So before I request Anirban to take it forward, I request all the panelists once again to keep their mics on mute and unmute while speaking. I also request all the attendees to ask the questions through Q&A section, which will be addressed at the end of session. Now, without taking further time, I request Mr. Anirban to kindly start the webinar. Over to you, Anirban.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajna. Thank you, everyone, and I would say good evening or good afternoon. So here, if you can share the presentation, that will be great. We'll get started on that. So while Sudhir is bringing up the presentation, I would say that in 2017 or maybe 18, Bill Gates said that there are three things that we have to focus going forward if we are talking about energy sector. That's definitely one is AI, right? Second is sustainability, and third is how this could be a new way of exchanging as a barter system, right? Which is monetization of the data. So moving forward, if we can start with that theme where we talk about where we'll talk today about energy, AI, and sustainability. If you really see, there are two types of challenges the energy sector has been witnessing, right? One is, of course, there's a rising demand where and this demand is not only between first, second, third, or fourth world of countries, right? It's about how do you make sure that based on region, population, demand, you have a steady flow of, like, let's say, both fossil fuel and renewable energy coming out. How do you maintain that rising demand? Now, when we do that, think about the horizontal relationship with the energy sector. Let's say automotive, right? In the automotive industry, you would say that there are a lot of cars which are becoming electric, which they are all appreciating the renewable energy a lot. It's nothing new there, but it's something that is going on for a while. But think in a direction where the sector of energy has been blurred with other sectors too, right? The second thing that I would like to also address is the overall efficiency. Like what we see grids now, can you make it more? Can you make it more smarter, more shareable as an in the economy, right? Or in the energy economy, or it will say we call it marketplace. The third one is the normal supply chain, the supply chain and the demand chain based on demand and fulfillment, manufacturing, really keeping an ethical supply chain and ethical manufacturing process. And to really, besides all these challenges, there's so much data this industry has collected. It's I don't think that a lot of democratization has happened in this sector. So that being said, we will go through the entire presentation with in bits and pieces of this theme that I started with, right? It's AI, it's sustainability, and how do I take AI and sustainability for the energy sector and we democratize it. So moving forward, some of the ways that the world is responding to this sector, right? Of course, one is advanced features of Internet of Things, right? If you really see the platform, take any organization, any organization, like, let's say I will pick on let's say Amazon or Microsoft or Google or IBM. They are coming out with a lot of good, like, cloud enabled strategies for the energy sector. And one of the things that we are seeing a lot is how we can move forward, do a backward and forward visibility, and do not only the smart gridding phase, it's also how do we do failure prediction, storage analysis. How can we help in an efficiency calculation? Security is a big thing, right? In this, so there's something that this sector has done a good job so far responding to this challenge, where we call it's a threat modeling analysis, threat modeling, right? That in this zone, if I have this much power, this much will be excess, and it will definitely be stolen by somebody in the ecosystem, right? And I'm not using the word loosely stolen, I'm using it seriously. And how do I make sure that I take this industry sector, which is mainly B2B, if you really see, and really make sure I create a, I would say, for the lack of better words, a creative commerce, which is commerce as a service, which is B2B2C, where from smart metering to the way the utility billing is handled, it all becomes connected. So connected experience, connected data, connected operations, connected products are how world is slowly responding, which are all the principles of Industry 4.0. Moving forward, I will pick one example in Norway. The others are also there, studying the examples that we are talking about today. In Norway, energy Egder Energy Company, they not only have participated with the universities out there, they also have participated with the municipals, and they have made water usage much more like optimized by the hydro power plant. We generally have an assumption that these plants will be continuously using the water, but it's actually they also do a lot of, like, as I was mentioning, region, time, season analysis to even leverage the water, and they would take that water and they would be using that water for something else, which should be the assumption of the human beings would be just to keep that for the power generation, but they are also using it for uh, other things for the society. So it's pretty. We have become very cognizant about the fact that this is a sector which is very much warrants focus in uh, data-led sustainability. I would say very much data-led consumer experience. At the end, it's B2B2C. So, so moving forward, what is missing in the response? So let's talk about that. The thing that is missing in the response is, and I'm not saying that the concept is missing. The concept is absolutely there. Okay. What is missing in the response is, how do I create a broker system where nobody has to worry about so-called stealing, as I call it, right? How can I make sure that I am much more moving from a schedule-based maintenance to a cycle-based maintenance, so that my failure prediction are not only accurate, but it's much lesser, right? And overall, I would say that creating a very much an open mind, that okay, how can I take technology in the mix and make it more of a sustainability profile for the sector? And there are lots of examples from in villages in the countryside to cities to everywhere to suburbs, where everybody every day we see some innovation in the space. So one thing, the innovation that we have to fuel in the space also very successfully, if we enable a marketplace. Now, what is the definition of marketplace? We will go through the presentation. It's an economy share model where between consumers, suppliers, energy providers. We will talk about more and more and how we can enable this with AI. That will be one of our themes today. So, and all the countries, it's not that first world or second world, third world countries, like all the countries are really getting into this mix, and the boundaries are really blurring in this industry sector, along with other horizontal sectors too. So moving forward, I'll give an example where we had an experience one and a half year back, where we really delivered a smart grid analysis program on energy trading, and this is where uh, I would say a lot of organizations have really found a source of revenue, okay, a revenue model or business model, while they are having their run the business, as I call it, going on. They have a normal run the business, but they have another revenue model coming in, because by grid I actually can predict that this much energy will be in excess, and I can trade this with the, let's say, with the municipal or the local government. Um, so this one is what we have seen with this organization based out of Houston. I'm just mentioning this. It's in this case it's Houston, United States, but also this is, we have seen some examples in Far East, and also in that way in India as well, where where they would like to recommend that how much energy would be there. And suppose there is a large, let's say, a cricket game or a soccer game, would that smart grid will be enabled to even factor in to serve that particular event, for example. So AI, artificial intelligence, and I don't want to use the word AI loosely, right? It's about uh, data analytics, advanced analytics, and machine learning, all that we predict to leverage to really create a performance visualization. right? That how do I really make sure that this grid will not be at fault. This will be able to have a fail safe. This will go into an excess energy. So this whole analysis, um, uh, including the storage management, we have led an organization to really get into this line of business. So that being said, I'm going to say only one thing, that at the end it's all about data, right? As I said, that this sector has collected so much data. I don't think that we have done justice with the data, and we will give some examples throughout the webinar. And then, of course, would love to take some questions later on as well. So moving forward, I'm going to um, Sudhir, if you want to move forward to the next. Thank you so much. I'll hand over to.
Thanks, Anirban. That was quite insightful and quick on AI and energy. Good examples. Now, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Sudhir Sondelkar. Sudhir works as a head distribution and sustainability for Amplo Global Incorporation. He has spent over 3 decades as an enterprising leader and a successful project professional across retail, commercial, industrial, warehouse, and residential industries, bringing efficiencies and modularity for exponential growth of organizations. A passionate leader, he had demonstrated sustainability principles in textile and retail industries, aligning stakeholders with a unified vision and executing roadmap to reduce organization in CO2 footprint. Recognized for his contribution in various fields like retail design, environmental initiatives. So, he is a sought after speaker who has addressed many respected groups. With that, over to you, Sudhi, to take the presentation forward.
Yeah, thanks, Krishna, and thanks, Indy, for a very interesting topic starting actually. Taking ahead from what Andy had explained about the challenges which are there either in India or across the world, it will be any part of the. I'm just taking one example of the issues or the problems which are faced by many of the countries. That is the power theft and then the loss of power which happens due to all the fraud. Well, though I'm projecting a case in Brazil, I think India also we do have lot cases. If I just pull the data of December 2019, well, the latest data is yet to be made available. That's why I'm just sharing the last week's data. The entire Maharashtra Electricity Distribution Company, in fact, last year detected almost 1,949 cases of power theft. That's due to the during the special drive which they conducted. It's a very huge. The Maharashtra, only 5 municipalities they have just discussed over here. The data is which has come is almost 1,950 cases, 49 cases. In Rajasthan Discom, when it was discovered that last year again, there were almost 28,000 cases of the power thefts and then the misuse of it again. So what has happened actually, it is though there are penalties being levied at more than 90 crores for the people who are actually stealing the power, but actually it's not a good scenario to just levy the penalty. It has to be centric use or holistic use of the power so that the crunch won't be there in other parts of the country. In Delhi itself, again, if I just talk about, there were 5,500 complaints and there were 2,500 violators were there. So when I'm talking about India cases, I'm sure maybe across the world also there are certain cases. However, what Brazil has done very smartly as a technology what they have developed is a company they have deployed an anti-theft machine for a medium voltage customers. So the system gathers all the elements of the power use measurements through digital meters and in the single device. So what happens actually when they capture and they capture this through a remote sensors. So when they capture, they get exact data where the power is getting stolen, where ideally the power is genuinely getting consumed, and how it is to be distributed as well. So again, I'm not talking about the penalties what they may be levying over there, but the proper tracking was done through artificial intelligence so well that then when AI was used to control the centers to identifying these unusual patterns, and they're located in the similar areas. The data was used to anticipate what are the behaviors happening across the region, what are the connections which needs to be curbed, and then cut the wastage. So this is an excellent case which the technology which Brazil had adopted. No doubt there are contributing factors like certain areas they have urban violences or drug trafficking. So naturally, when there are more slums and other areas, this issues do come across. And then what happens? The damage it damages the quality of power. Very frankly, quality of power, the safety of the overall population comes into endanger. So these are things. Though in Brazil we can also adapt in India and across the world research implementation. In fact, as a use case for India, I can proudly talk about, let's say, the 25% of turbine power. It is used for the forecasting. They give the predictive analysis of what is going to happen, how much wind is going to come, based on that, how much power can be generated, and where it can be distributed. So within India, also we have such use cases which are there, and fortunately, there are many privatization had happened within India now after the Torrent or Reliance and many companies which came into picture. At least there is some control which is appearing, but still, if you see the data which was just last year, it's quite a huge data. I'll just take certain use cases or the problem statements you may be coming across in your corporate or organizations. So it can be for the asset management. It can be for the integration of the distributed energy resources. It can be for the smart grid data harmonization, collaboration of the management and of the distributed assets. There will be emergence of the new business models, government regulations which will be there, managing complexity, and finally meeting the stakeholders' expectations. So what happens in the asset management when I talk about it's about a rising capex and opex costs, sure, actually, because when it comes to the control of aging infrastructure, this is very much required. I'm talking in terms of definitely a power grid over here. When it comes to the integration of this distribution of distributed energy resources, the cost optimization is again a issue in the transformation process towards the green energy. So that is another problem statement which you will be coming across. Smart grid data harmonization, there's a need for managing large amount of data, which is you must be using across various locations. So that needs to be harmonized very well. When it comes to the collaboration and management of the assets, yes, a dynamic, complex, and data-driven environment driven by the different digitization tools which are required to be done. So that also is a statement here. And then the emerging new business models. So how Amplo Global helps to enhance or to cooperate with corporations like you? We have a unifying platform to take this data and to connect and collaborate with all the manufacturers to take it ahead with and to gain the common access, to give a common access to all the systems necessary for the all asset information. Take this and then we invoke this artificial intelligence algorithms and the data strategy to leverage practically and the crucial information about the different assets along with the energy supply chains which are there. Also, we create an e-marketplace for the new business models which are coming up because, as you know, India is growing up tremendously from this 2020 onwards on the energy sector, which is being declared recently, which I'll come to that in detail later. Government regulations definitely for the improvement of the policies. Government keep on changing the regulations because it cannot be left behind. Okay, there are certain things which are regulations which are there for years. So every year you see there are improvements. Those we take it as a challenge and how to take ahead from there through the artificial intelligence is a smart use which we are spending here on. So coming to the managing complexity or let it be meeting the expectations of the stakeholders, what again our company will help you in doing the enables the investment decisions, the capital allocation, and definitely a strategic planning for your organization. We introduce the concepts of value and performances. Also, we prioritize abatement initiatives and a payback analysis. So when it's expectation from the stakeholders, definitely these terms are becoming very essential for everyone. We take appropriate metrics towards the environment also, so that to track the entire data on the environment to make a cases very strong and to give you the feedback of all the trackings, whatever is required from here. Andy, I will just request you to take this forward.
Sure. Absolutely. Thank you, Sudhir. And as the theme you're seeing, right? Like at the end of the day, it's first is to really understand that okay, this is a sector where the sector has really done a great job in collecting the data. I'm seeing some questions coming in as well about accessibility of the data and really how who owns it and who is the broker. So this is and hopefully if we have time we'll address these questions or we'll get back to you after the webinar. Is a very important one theme. Any of these four use cases we pick, at the end of the day, we need to know that in the data economy, what is the role of an organization. So if I am a let's say I'll pick on the question, right? If I'm a solar farm, right, then where I will collect the data from, even if the data that I'm collecting, do I own it? Is the data is somebody else's and insights are mine, right? So all these have to be done, have to be taken care of lawfully, right? But one thing is consistent, that whoever owns the data, whoever is leveraging the data in the buy and sell marketplace, it is very important that it is it is very important to realize that data analytics, machine learning, and overall AI is basically setting the stage. And if we move forward with this four use cases as we are talking about, um, the biggest challenge, and as I'm seeing the questions also coming in, as I said, right, is the protection and security from cyber attacks, to really understanding that, as I mentioned, that who owns the data. This is something which is a very critical, right? If there is a third party broker in the middle that we have to pay with our organization. So these challenges, the consumptions of the power, these are big challenges, and one of the big challenges that how do I make sure that we take this, and when I'm shouting and yelling AI and data, right? How can even I make the infrastructure very logical and very economical and efficient? So there's a very interesting article that Microsoft has produced, and also Microsoft has executed this, is that if I could put the big data centers under the water, right, under the sea level, below the sea level rather, it's how do I make sure that it's really the computing power of these data centers are not only better but also they're more green. So a lot of creative things going on to respond to the sector, especially with AI. So moving forward, so there are certain things that Amplo Global has done. So of course, one of the things that we will talk about is the favorite one I will pick up is the economic value. That how do I make sure that I really create a good framework, right? I drive my own strategy and enablement of that strategy, much more platform led, and really do an economic value, right? So one of the things that we are enabling is what I was talking about, and Sudhir was slightly mentioning about the marketplace. So as we are seeing the sector coming out, I think one of the things that you have to do is to strengthen the relations. So you be an OEM, be a data provider, be an energy provider, right? You have to make sure that that relationship is strong, aligned with the government. At the same time, how do we make sure that we don't spend energy on something that somebody else has already innovated, right? And you leverage it and create a good relationship in the ecosystem to share the pie. Moving forward, one key area, as we talked about, is that how do I make sure that this whole the whole sustainability is ideally also data led. That's something which is extremely critical. And I would say that if you really see the overall, we talked about smart grid, right? And we talked about that's a business to business or a business to consumer, from your utility bills, anything. One thing that is very important, that um, this technology, the one that we're talking about, and data analytics, machine learning, AI, right? This will continuously collect, and they would synthesize an overwhelming amount of data, right, from millions of sensors nationwide, and it will make you more smarter in the decision making. But one thing is very important, that when we are really working on the data, how do I segregate green versus non-green, right? That is something would be extremely critical to understand, right? So for example, if we are still, or which we are doing, fossil fuel power plants, right? Can we really avoid, can we see that, can we avoid any kind of like uh, wasteful parts management? Can we avoid that, right? How can we make sure that really in this particular area, we would be able to make sure that there's a good distance between humans and greenhouse gas emission, for example, right? So how do I measure all this? It's something, the continuous theme that we are bringing in this webinar. So one thing that I will say is, absolutely make sure that we think big, right? Create small chunks of data, algorithms, and make sure that we take that data and we ideally start monetizing it. And monetizing doesn't mean it's always hard monetization. It can be soft monetization to improve, in this case, the sustainability of the environment. So moving forward, I'm going to hand over to Sudhir again. Yeah, and yeah.
In fact, when we talk about the big word like sustainability in artificial intelligence, recently, I'm sure everybody is aware that our Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi had said in the G20 summit on November 22nd that India is not only meeting the Paris Climate Agreement targets but exceeding them. In fact, it's such a big statement which our Honorable Prime Minister made, and the responsibility definitely lies on us now. There are definitely years which are going to be a lot of work in this area, not only on the sustainability, but as Andy has mentioned about the energy sector as well. So any company approach, let's say on the sustainability strategy, to be there has to be goal. We have to become a market leader in the sustainability, so that the integration of the sustainability can go throughout their operation. So it's not that okay, one department or one area is being taken for the sustainability. No, it has to be throughout the operations. Let it be any other department, let it be HR, marketing, or up to the finance, everyone. So it goes everywhere, and then position your company in such a way in the marketplace that yes, you drive definitely a sustainable business only. So here, when such a statements are there, naturally a lot of orders are already given by the central government or the state governments to go with a lot of projects within India. And I'm sure after this 22nd November, lot many orders will start pouring in for companies like you on the all the power plumbing implementation is sure. So what are the drivers? Let's say I can talk about on the sustainability, which will drive your businesses. Because today, any forward-thinking organization definitely are seeking to include this into their comprehensive strategy. And no company will definitely want that, okay, they are not environmentally unfriendly. Okay, so this will definitely become a prime importance for them, because any company, or let it be top Fortune 500 companies or any other companies, definitely they come into social media very fast. So if you are doing something good for the sustainability and planet Earth, yes, you will be coming in that way with the successful colors in the market. So I can tell you about 5 prominent points how the sustainability on in the artificial intelligence can drive your business very far. It will reduce the risks, very frankly. How? It's a continuity of the operations. Then it can take it will reduce the fines and then the litigation cost. Then reputation risk from poor environmental records and climate crisis. So definitely this will reduce the risk on the overall operations. When sustainability will increase definitely the revenue streams. Yes, the companies with the focus of these innovations are growing at a rate. I'll just pull the data here. Are growing at the annual rate of 15%. While the challenge advisory found that 37% of the business report of a profit from sustainability. And companies that actively plan a climate change in Mindseeker, and 18% higher returns are given by the companies in their investment. So it will definitely increase the revenues. The sustainability will improve the brand and reputation, as I already told you, because it's a way to attract as a preferred employer, not only for us, for millennials and Gen Z customers, sure, because these are the people who are our future generations are looking at any organization or corporate in a different way than only a traditional way of getting adopted, getting interviewed by any corporate. Sustainability reduce cost. Yes, it should not surprise you because there is a myth that okay, if you have to do the sustainability and with the AI, it will become a huge bomb. It's not that actually, because depend on the product how you design. For example, if you can figure out the way to design a product in such a way that it may be weighing less or require less packaging, then you are able to reduce the cost. So there are ways and means to reduce the cost. We can definitely chat in the detailed discussion whenever everyone want to know about it. And finally, sustainability attracts the investments definitely. If you look into the Indian corporate sector or the mutual funds which are being there right now, last month, if I remember, ICICI has floated ESG funds as a mutual fund. Just a week back, I think Kotak Mahindra also is already discussing about the ESG funds, that's the environment, governments and social funds. There is a Aditya Birla is being doing the good survey right now for entering into the mutual funds. So investments are being attracted over here, sure. So if I go to any traditional way of manufacturing, I'm just taking the example of one of the power plants in the automotive section. The typical process flow, if you see right from the designs, then corporate making the prototypes, quality checking, the parts are being ordered, parts are received, then you make the car assembly, then you go for the quality testing, the car design, the prototyping is getting approved, the vehicles are put on the unibody coating or painting, the structural body components are completed, then the corrosion protection, number of things. Let's say a vehicle is getting ready, then the chemical cleaning is there, or vehicle is undergoing the multi-step finishing, and the finally is going to retail. What we can add value in each of the manufacturing steps are this. Right from the 4.0 recommend on design thinking workshop for stakeholders to enable these innovations, setting up the KPIs for the manufacturing units to reach to be state for the green manufacturing. So if at all entire process has to be green, how AI will enable you, or how Amplo Global will enable you to do your journey towards the entire green manufacturing is possible. That's the way we are showing over here. So let it be when you receive the parts from the manufacturer, the vendor. So how to measure that and how to score them to reduce the carbon footprint, not only for you, but even the carbon footprint of the vendors as well. That also can be tracked. Again, the measuring of the greenhouse gas emissions while the body painting is happening, or the understanding the process levels can be automated, sure. And use of the design thinking to finalize the capabilities of each and every process, that also can be studied, because there may be a traditional flow of the events of manufacturing, but when we apply the sustainability angle to it, the design thinking definitely plays an important role. Whether at certain stage we have to understand whether the process levels are can be automated. Okay, if something is not automated, whether we can do again some thought of behind it, that can be introduced. And finally is designing the management waste management process, because any manufacturing do have certain wastages. Those companies who don't have wastages, absolutely, it's a hats off to them. But yes, there are certain wastage which are there that becomes crucial to decompose it or the disposal process. So that also we can identify in the entire journey for you. As a tool, definitely when we talk about Amplo Global, we carry out a detailed analysis of a lot of steps. In fact, I can say proudly we have more than 100 steps over here. I don't want to go to each and every step, but yes, if it is a carbon and water neutrality, if you want to track, if you want to track the SDG strategy, that is the sustainable development goals, can be carbon capture or storages. If it is a climate resilience, extended producer responsibilities, greenhouse gases emissions, suppliers and social environmental impacts of from the suppliers, zero defect policies or procurement strategies, SOP and import policy implementation, environmental impact prior and post procurement, waste management, market research, so number of things. If I just go on to the list, it's a very exhaustive list here. What we do a decomposition of, let's say, any process. If I talk about one process, let's say carbon neutrality, we decompose it into many levels, right from L1, L2, L3, L4, and L5, which gives you the scoring mechanism where a company is there on each and every process today, whether you're good in the overall experience, you're good in efficiency, or you're good in the data quality, and finally the automation. So it gives you the scoring, and naturally a heat map is generated that gets addressed where the steps are required to be taken for better efficiency. So this heat map analysis definitely helps after creating the entire decomposition to take the decisions. Okay, we have certain problems in certain systems. Okay, let us tackle what are the approval levels, to whom to approach. Everything is detailed out in our module over here. And then I'll just pick up one example just for understanding, because I may talk about 100 elements anytime in future. But a carbon abatement, you had to really talk about. It starts with either a pledge or a policy within the organization. Unless that is in place, nothing is possible, as you are aware. So definition of ambition level, how much is the company want to really do it, and a timeline for achieving neutrality. So if it is a carbon or water, the timeline has to be decided, sure. Allocating the resources, internal emission reduction, how much it will be, assurance of the carbon neutrality claim, and finally the reporting of this neutrality. If I go to the capture storage, I think as Andy has already said, not only the data centers are under the ocean, but the carbon actually can be stored geographically under the either the land or in the ocean. Definitely, these are the capture or the storage steps which are there through the post combustion or pre combustion, oxy-fuel combustion, many things. Companies do keep on emitting, but they are not aware how to offset this, because people do keep on hearing, okay, we can offset this thing, how to minimize our carbon footprint. But if that is not possible within the organization, what are the ways out? Let it be scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3 emissions. How we can offset few things over there? How we can purchase the credits? If the tree plantation is required, or through some CSR activities, purchase of the renewable energy certificate, if that is a requirement. So I just given a glimpse of what we can capture in each and every step within the decompositions. It will generate the scores or the dashboards. Like this, not only the sustainability dashboard is seen, but a business performance, if you see the target outcomes which are there. So it will show the business performances, it will show the asset appreciations. So it will give the target against how much you have achieved till today, what is the future, and how you can predict through the AI tool very, very clearly. So it's distinctly defining the system and set the various operational strategic growth KPIs by focusing on entire scoring mechanism. Okay. And then it will customize as per what you want. It's not that, okay, Amplo Global company is giving something to you, you have to take as it is and start. If some customization is required, yes, we are open for that points. Maybe my 100 points can go to 200 points tomorrow. But yes, this customization is possible. It is to do with all the efficiency which you only need for your manufacturing, or to achieve the sustainability, or to go ahead with any energy initiatives or the new business models which are required to be taken from your side. Andy, I will request you to take here on the performance. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, sure. I think you've already mentioned about this. So it's about really making sure that how we enable ourselves in this era, with like having let's say a revenue share, or let's say we want to share data. We would like to make sure that we really follow the industry 4.0 principles, to make sure that it's much more vertically integrated or horizontally integrated between the sectors, or even within the energy sectors. So one thing that I will definitely mention here, that we will take. So I mean, there is always a method. There is always a method to the madness, right? We talked about the electricity trading, right? That how will be bought or sold or traded in open markets, for example. Even if there are personas who are buyers and sellers and brokers, right? And everybody, how the consumptions and everything will happen, there is something where you have to you as an like when you're executing these strategies, you have to have some future twinning or future visibility to this. So there are steps. The how part of this is that, okay, when you're enabling yourself in much more machine learning led or data analytics led execution, we have to define the problem very well, right? So that then definitely we need to do a good amount of benchmarking. Now, sometimes we will have access to data. Sometimes we will have internal data. Sometimes it will be data that we'll get from the systems or the system control systems. And and of course, then we have to take that and really see that what kind of capabilities you would need to enable yourself much more greener execution. And then, of course, you have to also monitor this. You have to measure it as you are proceeding. Are you in the right direction or not? And then really make sure that the adoption and adaptation in place through design thinking, and have multiple options. You have options to see that, okay, how do you enable these attributes, these solutions, these transformation plans? So so moving forward, so at the end of the day, what I would say that think yourself as a part of the ecosystem, right? Part of the ecosystem, how you would become a consumer, how you would be a contributor. And at the end, if you are the prime for this relationship, how do you make sure you enable data-led governance model, right? So it's a structure that we follow. We recommend that this is something that, if you really see, we call Net Promoter Score, NPS, right? When we work with any energy client or in this sector, um, building the concept of marketplace is absolutely very important. And now you can say that based on the maturity of the country, the organization, the data accessibility, all these things depends a lot. But if you are thinking to enable much more, especially the energy sector where you have so much data, and I keep saying that, right? How do you make sure that you have a good framework to really bring a value added product and services, right? At the end of the day, it's value added product and services. It's really making sure that you're safe and your assets are utilized correctly, the productivity is high, and then at the end of the day, you have high customer satisfaction. So I know we talked about a lot of these themes of, like, in this utility energy sector, how actually people are bringing, how the value creation is happening. It is at the end of the day, um, yes, renewables are a key focus area. Generally, most of the people who are doing good, they have a strong bottom line, right? I would say that most of the organizations now are saying that, okay, how can I know my strength? I am in the conventional generation or renewable generation. Are we in networks? Are we in retail? All kinds of thought processes are coming into the human minds, right? And what are my implications at the end of the day? How can I run my operations? Can I get investment? How can I be profitable, right? So at the end of the day, if you really bring, I would say, the energy sector, the pure power and utility sector, right, together along with having a very greener mindset, and it's not easy to achieve, right? At the same time, a data led mindset, That is where I think most of the efficiencies and automation are coming in. And yes, we have an uncertainty in the future. You can't predict the market, how it's happening. But one thing is consistent, that we need we need we need power. We need to make sure that every day we wake up and go to bed, we take the electricity or the power. I mean, not everybody does, right? But there's some cities and suburbs and rural areas. Sometimes we take it for granted, right? But I'm sure not everybody does, as I say that. But it's something that, just like that, it would be a part of our DNA, that even to run operations, what kind of things we do in the whole economic model here. All I'm recommending, we are recommending, is think about redefining the boundary lines, that where you're a data broker, energy trader, and the OEMs are all together in the same marketplace. So with that being said, I will hand over back to Krishna. And
In fact, one interesting observation I will just state over here. There was a India CEO forum on climate change on 5th of November, where it was explicitly said that achieving about 40% cumulative electrical power installed capacity from non-fossil fossil fuel based on energy resources by 2030. And then this is definitely going to grow what again Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi said. So if we are talking about 175 megawatts today by 2030, there is already a projection given to everyone that is a 450 gigawatts, not megawatts. Gigawatts is the projection which is there already for the 2050. So the path is there, the plans are there. How to achieve that, as Andy has already explained you, is not that easy. Okay, they just have to install and install everything. How to maintain, how to get the data, how to control, how to avoid the thefts, how to overall have efficiencies within the system will be really crucial over here. It may be good to just install and install everything, but no, it has to be controlled as well. Okay, I think Rachna, you can take over from here onwards.
Thank you, Sudhir. Thank you, Anirban. Before we close the webinar, I will take some questions which are put by the attendees today. So first question I would like to address is from Ms. Sumantra Bose or Mr. Sumantra Bose. He's asking, how would you get access to operational data from solar and wind farms in India, where even owners themselves have limited access to their SCADA data from OEMs? Sudhir, would you like to take this up?
Yeah, go ahead, Sudhir.
Yeah, I believe data which, just repeat the last part of it if you can, because I was just closing the screen.
Sure, I'll do that. So the question, one second, I'll reopen the question for myself. Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'll repeat the entire question. This is asking, how would you get access to operational data from solar and wind farms in India, where even owners themselves have limited access to their SCADA data from OEMs?
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Because if something is installed, it has the data actually. I'm surprised why the owners can't access the data for who had installed in their own farm. Unless it is just a agreement which is there to put a give a space for the rental, and then somebody is using it as a company. Then I think it is a request which OEMs only we need to do it to them to access this data, isn't it? Because I may agree, fine, owners have given the land for installment on the installations of all the farms, but the data are required to be there definitely with the OEM. So is there any challenge to get it from OEM?
Yeah, and that's a fair point, right? So I do believe that if I own like an edge, I call it an edge we call it in the power industry the edge portion, which is where actually the data are residing. Like let's say Siemens, right? They have a SCADA data model, right? I mean, what I have seen personally, and I'm sure Sudhir will agree, or even disagree, that's totally fine. I mean, is that there are contracts where we would define that boundary, and that's what I kept saying, that the boundaries are getting blurred a bit nowadays. So I would say that OEMs, they have a very clear instruction from these manufacturers of the SCADA machines or any of this, is that data are definitely which you're producing within the four walls of the organizations are yours, right? Um, so I would say that it's all depends on how smart the contract is. So, and I'm pretty sure that when there are enablements happening between, let's say, the OEMs and the distribution and the end consumer, they have all various levels of responsibility with that data, right? You just can't like go out and sell that data to somebody else, of course. But at the end of the day, there are ownerships. People, OEMs in India, they own data. I mean, even they are leveraging a third-party machine. Data are, of course, there. So maybe our answer would be that what we have seen in the market is that I mean, sometimes OEMs. I mean, generally OEMs will have access to their own data. I'll just leave it there.
Sure. Thanks, Anirban. Next question I'll take from Mr. Shamsundar. He's asking, the distribution sector is a major challenge in India. The sector is not automated and has errors even after automation. Energy audits are also not really correct. Okay. Energy audits are also not correct, he's saying. And thus the AI application, will it be really effective in distribution sector? Anirban, would you like to take this up?
Sure, absolutely. So my answer to that would be, of course, short answer is definitely yes, right? Being the market size that we have, right? Um, if you really see the who actually has the most intensive power consumption, right, is the industrial sector. So you have power generations happening, you have a distribution, you have industrial. So um, the distribution of the energy is just is a I call it a middleman, right? But to consume that and really understand the threads in the whole in the value chain, the consumer of this distribution centers are they're very aggressive in leveraging AI. At the end of the day, they have to predict for consumers like us, right? So yes, I mean it is the mantra that I'm trying to inculcate or just address here is that it is not just particular that sector. It's about how do I take the entire value chain and really enable them. And that is what's happening with data integrity, data exchange, right? So yes, of course, distribution, they are not alone. They have the OEMs on one side and the consumers on the other side, right? So and the amount of data that's flowing in the value chain, they have to do AI itself at the end of the day, and also they have to be ready to answer their consumers. And in an industrial situation in India where I find it's pretty close knit. Sometimes there is an issue to actually share data. And we were answering the previous question, thinking about that. It's much more close knit, right? An organization would not share data with the other organization sometimes, right? That's where regulations are easing up. That's where privatization is happening, right? If you really see the overall change in the ecosystem, I mean, lots of privatization is happening. So it's all building up and helping you to do more and more data-led transformation, I would say.
Thank you, Anirban. Just to share with you, Mr. Shyam Sundar is actually a joint director and head of department at CPRI. CPRI is one of the important societies institutes set up by the government of India. It is called Central Power Research Institute. So I'm sure he has a experience of working with variety of organizations and institutes. And I hope you'll be able to connect and share some more use cases with him on the AI front. With that, I'll take to next question we have from Mr. Chandra Shekhar. He is asking how to get the complete data in the country for analysis. Will it be available at a single point for the complete SCADA data? I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer that question.
Let me give a shot, right? I think I know what in Mr. Chandra's mind here. Um, so the entire chain, the various chains, right? You have the power generation machines. Then you have to take that data in the middle in the SCADA. Then you have to bring it to, let's say, execution systems in the middle layer. Then you take it back to the main enterprise, right? The trend that's happening is organizations are really wanting to run this on the edge. Your 50 to 60 to 70% of the data decisions are happening on the edge. You would see that machines are becoming more connected and smarter, where the industry 4.0 principles are being applied. You would see that people are making decisions on the edge. So if you, I'm sure you know, I'm not saying it's the way I'm saying it. If you know edge analytics, of course you know edge analytics, but if you really see that how the theorems of edge analytics, edge, edge analytics, right? That's exactly what's happening. A bulk of the decisions are happening on the smart grid. Then the next decision is happening in maybe in the execution layer, right, where the integration layer, and then the remaining decisions are making in the corporate and the four walls, right. So I would say in these three sections, decisions are being made, and edge analytics is a very, very hot topic to really dig into. And there are some successful use cases in the ecosystem, in the Indian market, where people are embracing a lot of these decision-making points at the edge. Are all decisions making at the edge? No. It has to be in the data lake central pool. Then you have to distribute that data to various data owners based on the contracts and the first question that was there, right? And then also you have to make some decisions at the corporate level. So yeah, it's generally I'm seeing in three layers that data decisions are happening. It's not only at one layer, and there's a lot of integration need to happen, and a lot of smart contracts need to be in place. Otherwise, there'll be data breach and data security issues.
Sure. Mr. Shamsundar is further asking, has any pilot work being made in the distribution sector for AI application?
We definitely will check and get back to you. I do have our reference, of course, which we have. It is a global organization, of course, in Pune. Definitely, we have. I don't know if anyone in this webinar that we have anyone from GE Power. So definitely there is some distribution analytics have been done. So yes, that's something that we have personal experience with them.
So he has shared his email ID. So I think I'll share his email ID.
Get back to you.
Yeah, if you can share some more use cases or some pilot works which have been done, it will be great. Now move on to another question we have from Mr. Prasad Chandragiri. He's saying, have you encountered challenges with data collection? Does it have to be on-site data or remote for the AI ML analysis? And he's also asking if Amplo's business model shaped towards ESG strategy development and implementation using Amplo's software. Is it offered as a software as service model?
Sure. Let me answer. And Sudhir, please feel free to chime in. So, data collection. Let's start with the first question. Right, the data collection method is varied. Right, you will see machines which are very old, where you do not even have an Ethernet patch cord. Right, how do you collect data from those? Because you can't neglect any one of these, right? Everyone is rich in data, so they're setting, and they're very proud of themselves, right? Each machine is very proud of themselves. So what they collect in the last 50, 20, 10 years. I would say that the way we are seeing the energy sector or the power sector collecting data is We have external machines that the machines would sit on the machine, like a small, maybe a 4-inch by 6-inch pad, which we put on the machine. We stick that in the machine, which actually based on the vibration temperature of that particular machine, we actually collect data, right? The other way of collecting data, if you have a patch cord, if an Ethernet cable enabled to that, right, we also can hook up to the internet, right? And modern machines are generally having centralized data center LAN connection, so that in a data center, I know that, or in like when I say data center, I mean to say an energy center, right? So which machine is performing what, those detailed fail-safe methods are available. So various ways we collect data, right? As I'm repeat, which doesn't have any internet access, which has internet patch cord, Ethernet cable access, and which has like data center LAN access, or which we call the local wireless access. So various ways data can be collected, and once data come in the pool, we need to make sure that this has to be real time. Do we need real time or not? Those decisions also are being made in the project execution. Um, the second part of the question that I will answer is we are a business. We have a product, right? Ideally, this product gets hooked up in the middle of the strategy and operations, and we basically simulate the future projects to be successful, right? We are simulating a future project to be successful in our platform. So our platform itself is, again, a data-led, machine learning-led, or data analytics-led. So if somebody wants to do, and let's say energy trading, right? The example we gave in the beginning, and they would like to do an energy trading with their forward distributors, because they do see that in certain region of the country, they generally have excess energy in the smart grid, and they would like to do trading on that, right? So even they have the capability to start, right? If they have the capability, what exact steps they need to do, right? If they know the exact steps, what kind of data that they need to collect, how they can be ready for running their business. So our platform does these program simulations. We simulate, we twin the project that you would like to implement tomorrow. And once you implement it tomorrow, then again, our platform enables to measure and audit it. So it's a closed loop risk management, performance management platform. So our platform itself does that with some AI engines and machine learning engines. The other piece that we also do besides the product is a hypothesis. If somebody would have a large data set, they would like to run analytics. So besides the product home, where we call the product home, we have a lake beside the home, right? And the lake is called, of course, data lake, where there are some, everybody can write that into that lake, and everybody can, not everybody is, I'm not saying it loosely, but if you have the rights, you can read and write from that lake. So we have a product, we have a lake and data lake, and we do enable an organization to take the control of the programs they are running, really predicting if the program will be successful. We're a little upstream as far the product goes. We're very upstream to really take the control of the Industry 4.0 readiness, for example, and really know that you will be successful or not. And we also do data lake management. Like you have to do microservices, you have to integrate horizontally, vertically. That servitization focus we also have. But we are mainly a product company. So that's how I would say. Hopefully I made some sense, and it's on the website as well.
Thank you, Anirban. We have one more question from him, which he says that what are the use cases for microgrids within industrial plants for power generation and distribution with a mix of energy sources?
Oh, what is the first question you said? Sorry.
He's saying what are the use cases for microgrids within industrial plants for power generation and distribution with a mix of energy sources?
Okay. We definitely back to you if we can get the email address. We will get back to you. Microgrids definitely. First of all, it's a good news and a bad news on AI use cases of these microgrids, right? One is they're generally within one organization. And I can be wrong here. It may be across organizations as well. But generally, what we have experienced that it's generally within the organization. So um, enabling a use case with the industrial product are generally less of a contract hassle than the smart grids out in the middle. But but there are some challenges also we face in the microgrids integration. But let me get the email address. I do not have any direct reference or any use case example right now, but I definitely can get back to you. So that's how it, yeah.
Sure. So I'll take the last two questions. One is from Mr. GP Kumawat. He's asking how is the energy measurement is collected?
How is the energy measurement?
How energy measurement is collecting through energy meter or
Yeah,
something?
in fact, he had put a chat to me as well. So I had answered yes. Primarily, energy meters are there, which any company, if it is there installed, or we have our devices. If you heard Andy mentioning about it, like a iPad sort of or something, which will be put up to collect these data into our systems, and then overall management and prediction can happen through that only.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Sudhir. And the last question is from Mr. Prasad again. He's asking, so does that mean that you get into a contract where you take responsibility for data collection and analysis, or do you enable customer with solutions for implementing themselves?
So it's use case basis, right? So in some cases we can take the responsibility to collect the data. In some cases where, of course, if there are other incumbents sitting, we can't, right? So it depends on the situation to situation. In fact, I would like to mention also that that definitely in the next webinar we'll bring these more more use cases like this when we have the next series. So that's indeed great. All great questions here. We our effort where we have the most success as an organization is I would say the lake management, right? When I say lake management, it is the data lake management. That's where I think we do have the most success out there. And when I'm saying lake management, if you really see step by step what is there in the lake, right? It there in the lake you have to have a user layer, right? You have to write and read, and there has to be a conformed data layer, right? Where you have to really have a structure and the metadata, right? And the third is the storage layer. You have to store all this data. So that's where I think we do a good lake management. As I mentioned, this logical architecture. We do a lot of these data like ingestions, data transformation, governance for the energy sector. And and indeed, we are very strong in the analytics and analytics phase of the house, right? Um, if we need to collect data from, let's say, machines, we do have that capability also. But our sweet spot is the lake management. I will just leave it there.
Thank you, Anirban. I think with that, we would like to close on the webinar. If there are any questions, people can still put on the chat box, or you can email it to me or my colleague Sangeeta Karki, whose email ID was shared in the beginning of the slide. I will also put those email IDs in the chat box so that you can send the questions to us, which we will convey to the Amplo Global team to be answered further. So with that, I would like to thank everyone for joining us, and I'm sure that the webinar was informative for you all and help you to introduce the technologies in this important sector. My special thanks to Amplo Global for their kind support. And thank you all and stay safe.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks everyone.